Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today we are talking about how to create sexy, foggy, colorful glass. Creating good-looking glass materials typically goes deeper than just slapping on a material. In this lesson we will dive deep into what makes glass look good. So let's jump in and see what it's all about. Okay everyone, so today we are talking about how to make sexy, colorful, foggy glass with Inside 3D. So this lesson today is going to be pretty in-depth, so if you're looking for a quick answer, this lesson is not for you. What might be for you though is going to be, I'm going to put up the project files online that'll have all the materials that I'm covering in this lesson today, and you can kind of dive in there on your own time and work at the speed that you like and look through them and yeah, get what you need out of them. Now today I'm going to be using Redshift and Cinema 4D, but these concepts apply to all packages, and I assume in your package you can probably figure out how to do what I'm doing in my settings. So don't be scared if you don't use this. There's a lot of tips in here that I think will be helpful for you. All right, so let's do it. So we're talking about glass today, and glass is, as we all know, a product of its environment, right? Everything's a product of its environment. I mean, heck, we are, our desk is, our keyboard is, you know, what's around it affects how it looks, right? So with glass, that's kind of on steroids though, right? Glass is super shiny, it's transparent, it has a lot of things that absorb the qualities around it, right? So we have to be hyper aware of that when we are building our glass. So the first thing I want to start on in this lesson is our environment, right? Because I think before you build any materials or anything, you have to think about where this environment's going to be in, and you have to think about yeah, how this light is going, how this glass is going to react with its environment. So I'm going to quickly run you through what I have happening here for my environment. So for the environment, what I have is I have a simple cyc that's happening here, just as something to kind of, yeah, for it to be on. And then I have a kicker light that is creating some warm kind of side light that's happening. After that, I have a rim light that's just adding some, yeah, top light to kind of carve out the shape of everything. And then I have a fill light that is actually a dome light. Now this dome light is just an image from HDRI Haven. And if you don't use HDRI Haven, definitely use them. They're awesome. I love them. And what this dome light's going to do is it's going to provide a little bit of atmosphere for us, right? It's going to provide reflections. It's going to give us a little tonal variation. It's going to be our world, right? So this is our fill light. So when we combine these all together, yeah, we have this. Now I am in clay mode right now, so we are not worried about the materials yet. So the next thing is the object, right? So if we look at these objects, I have a lot of different objects in here. And the reason why I did that is because based on how the object is, it's going to react differently, even with the same material. And this doesn't apply just for glass. I mean, it can be lots of different materials, but in particular with glass, it's going to look a lot different. So if an object's really thick, that light is going to be harder to penetrate through. Whereas if an object is really thin, like this heart here, it's going to, well, we all know a thin piece of glass is going to look different than a thick piece of glass. And the same goes with our edges too. So if we have an edge that's incredibly beveled and soft, that edge is going to look a lot different than an edge that is sharp. So that is the reason for these different objects in here, because as we apply the same texture, I want you to see how they look differently on all of these. So what I have over here is I have a null with all these objects underneath. We're just going to apply, let's just go ahead and do it. We're going to apply a texture on top, and it's all going to go down. Now I want to flat map this, and I want to fit the object. All right, so for the first material, we're going to be super basic, but it's important to understand that for this material, I want to show you just how, you know, the glass absorbs its environment. So what I have, I'm actually going to turn this off. If we get out of clay mode, we have just a purple cyc, right, that's happening, or a blue cyc, excuse me. Now, when I drop this first material on, you're going to see what happens is automatically it kind of takes on the colors of its surroundings, right? And these objects look wildly different. In particular, this cube up here, the thicker objects look wildly different. All right, so this object, what is happening here, let's just do a brand new material, and let's go to presets, and let's go to glass. And when you go to glass, it's going to automatically put in the IOR settings, and it's going to automatically do everything for you. So that's why we go to the presets. Now, if we want to make it rough, Very simple. We just add the roughness. Now, again, I'm going to be walking you up in this lesson. So we're going to start at the basics and we're going to walk our way up. So this might be knowledge to all of you, but this is something that maybe is not. So for the first one, yeah, for our roughness, we have, we're just going to walk it up and we'll see how that looks. And automatically it takes on a different form, right? It looks different than this. It looks a hell of a lot different. And you can see, once again, some objects are reacting better than others. Now, if we change the cyc to red, all of a sudden then these take on the shape of red. And the same with white. They're probably going to be really hot and so on. But we'll stick with blue for now. So when we come in here, the other thing I would like you to know about is, yeah, the index of refraction. So if we come here and we start to mess with this, you'll see that now all of a sudden our cube is starting to look a little better, right? We just kind of have to dial it in. But this cube up here is starting to take a little bit nicer of a look than where it was before. So I'm not going to go into specifics of all this, but just know that your index of refraction, basically it's, how do I describe it? It's like a Fresnel, and basically it's the qualities of the glass, right? It's the qualities of the refraction, how it's going to look, at least glass in this scenario. So you can just kind of drive this around until you get a look that you like. All right, so the next one that I would like to show you is like, okay, this is cool, it's glass, but it's not really colorful, right? It's taken on its environment. So what we can do next, I'm going to drag this next one on here, and this is essentially the same settings as we had before with one slight difference. So what we have here under refraction transmission, we have something called dispersion. Now dispersion basically is going to introduce natural world colors into your refractions. I have a whole lesson on this. It's called Colorful Glass with One Click. It has the horses on the front page, and you can check that out. But just know that as you add values to this, it's going to add color. And ironically, the higher you go, the less it gets. So you just kind of want to do small increments on this, but you can see what it's doing. It's given us some color in here versus if I go to 0, we have no color. So 0.01, and then we'll go like, we'll go where I was, 0.02. And then if we come in, you can see we're getting these nice reds here, whereas if we didn't, you know, we wouldn't have it. So this is cool. This is great. But the only problem with this method is that you have no control. I mean, I've looked into this. If someone knows, I can't figure out a way to actually change this dispersion color. If anyone knows, I would love to know myself. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, all right, well, I want to just be able to fucking make it whatever color I want, and I don't care about all the other stuff, you know, like the real world scenario. So like, let's just say we have a white cyc and we want these to be colored, right? Naturally they're going to take on their environment, but we want them to be colored. So what we can do is we can actually introduce color through the diffuse, right? So diffuse, yeah, basically it's your color of an object. So if we come in here and we need to apply this. If we apply this colored gradient to it, you'll see we have this color. Now, how do we get this in here? So let's just go back to our material. Let's set it back to pure. Let's go back to aluminum or something, whatever, it doesn't matter. And let's just reset it to glass. Okay, so we reset it to glass. We have essentially a fresh material. Now let's take this and let's see what it looks like. Now, again, we have this color piped into the diffuse. Well, nothing happens. And the reason why nothing happens is because the refraction color, which is actually, refraction weight, which is actually, it's essentially your transparency, is at full 100%. So we're just saying, I want you to be completely transparent. Now, if we start to bring this down, down, and then we bring our diffuse up, what you're going to see is that they're going to mix, right? They're going to mix together, and you're going to start to get a mix of them, right? So now all of a sudden you're starting to get like a tinted glass look. Now, I don't prefer this method because for me it's not really real looking. It's kind of fakey fake. And let me just bring this down just a little bit more. And there are good things about it. I mean, like if we switch this to like, that's why this should be flat. And then let's go fit to objects. We should get a little bit nicer results. Yeah, so we're starting to get a little bit nicer results here. Like these are looking pretty nice. This looks like something that's like hyper stylized, you know? So this is a look, it's valid, and I wanted to put it in here because I think just knowing that you can easily mix the diffuse with the transparency is a great thing to know. Let's just check out some of our other angles here. Yeah, I mean this is a completely it's a nice has a nice vibe for certain things, but it's not real world. So what if you want something that is, I mean, maybe it is real world, but it's not, like we're kind of jiggering it a little bit. So what if you want something that is real world, but also is controlled by a gradient, right? So that leads us to our next one. So let me just turn this off, save my computer a little bit of rendering time. All right, for the next one, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna pipe our color into our transmittance color, okay? Now the transmittance color is essentially, how do I describe it? It's like how color is absorbed into the transparency. I'm not a scientist, like I don't claim to like know the like hardcore details of this, but my understanding of it, it's basically how it absorbs color. So when this light penetrates this object with the glass, what color is it gonna take on? So all I did for this one, let's just go ahead and create a new material, and let's set it to, not plastic, tinted glass. And let's just see how that looks. All right, so if we set it to tinted glass, you're gonna see we get expected results. Now, the big thing that it does, I think the only thing it does, is it add the transmittance color and the absorption scale. Now, if you're not familiar with this, I have a whole lesson on subsurface scattering that walks you through all these options. But for this lesson, all you need to know is your absorption scale is basically your saturation, and your transmittance color is your color. So right now, if I switch this color to blue, or purple blue, that's going to change. And if I up this to 0.05, it's going to get much more, yeah, it's going to absorb it like deeper and richer. This is your saturation. You see these dark objects, these thick objects are almost going dark now. So usually you want to keep this pretty low. Now this leads us to an interesting question. Well, what happens if we pipe a gradient into here, or whatever color you want? Well, if you want to do that, all you need to do is go to your, it's a little cryptic, I'm not gonna lie. It's under base properties, refraction, transmission, subsurface, and it's called refraction transmittance, but under here it's called transmittance color. So it's a little confusing because it's one of those things where you're like, what the hell? Like, I can't find it, and then you realize that it's actually there. So what I have here actually is, I guess I jumped ahead a little bit, but what I've done, let me just take this off. What it's done now is it's piping our gradient. So this, you see we're getting some of the blues up here and stuff, and they're turning into purples almost because this object's so thick. But if this were thinner, you can see here we're getting some purples. But what it's done is it's basically, is our roughness up? Yeah, roughness is up. It's basically applied that, but kind of almost in a real world fashion. Now, why I like this technique is what I'm about to show you next. So what you can do is you can actually add just a tiny bit of subsurface scattering. And when you do that, you start to get some really beautiful results that are kind of tough to achieve without doing it this way. So in particular, if we go to like this cube here, you see that we're getting this like really gorgeous fall off that's happening. Now I know I'm pretty low res here, but you see we're getting this gorgeous fall off that's happening of these purples to pinks to whites to like almost oranges over here, probably from our kicker light that's happening. So you're getting really nice things that are happening that are just, they just feel good. I don't know how to explain it. And you can really come in here and mess with this with the subsurface and just get really really nice stuff. So this is my preferred method of how to work when I'm doing this, at least for if I'm trying to make like really sexy glass, I guess. This is the way I would go. And then yeah, you can, again, you can kind of come in and you can adjust settings to see how they work for you. But I mean, now you're kind of getting away from glass. That's why it's just very small increments that you need to work in. But when you do find that magic mark, it really is nice. So I would say this is probably my preferred method. Yeah, and then let's just see what they look like with the other ones. Oh, pretty nice stuff. So moving on, if we want to take this just one step further, that's what the next one is. So the next one, let's come here. Let's go back to our white, because I think it's nice to have the white canvas. Actually, you know what? I'm going to skip this one. This one I think we can talk about just in this one. So before I do this, let me turn this off. Go here. All right, my computer crashed there, but basically I was just playing around just right now, and I set this to UVW, and you see we just get even more kind of interesting results with the same one. All right, now for the last one, what I want to do is just take this one step further. So what we're going to do is basically we have essentially the same material, maybe it's slightly different, but as you may or may not know, if you just introduce a little bit of variation into your reflection roughness and your refraction weight, what you will achieve is just looks that are just different and a lot of times just more interesting. So what you're going to see here is what I've done is I've taken this texture and basically I just took a C4D noise shader, and I don't even remember what setting it was. I guess if you want to know, it was Stupel, whatever that is. And yeah, so basically all it's saying is wherever it's white, it's going to be transparent, clear. Wherever it's dark, it's going to be solid. So that's driving the refraction weight. And then I've also taken a roughness pattern that I got from Quixel, and that's also just kind of breaking up the roughness a little bit, just to give it a little more variation. Now, the roughness, admittedly, you're probably not going to be able to see it because I have to keep the quality low for these videos so we can actually move. But what you're seeing is we're getting a pretty cool stylized look now, right? We're getting something that's pretty interesting looking. Now, the heart and everything, not so much because they're not projected right. But if we start to look at like, let's go over to like over in here in this area, and then if we go up to our, let's check out this cube. You know, we're getting some really, it almost feels like it's like marble or like a clay glass or something that's happening. It's just interesting looking. And then what you can do is you can come in and let's just go back to our other one. You can come in, you can just mess with it. So if I come in here and if I just mess with, whatever, let's just mess with the contrast. Let's bring this up a bit. And then let's go here. You know, you can, I mean, again, these are kind of whack, but you can get these really kind of interesting vibes. And you can just go for days messing with this stuff. So the moral of this story is add some reflection roughness and some roughness to your weights, and you'll get some interesting results. And just play around, man. Have fun with it, because like I said at the beginning of this lesson, there's no one answer to this stuff. The last thing I want to show you is I want to hit the reset button. I essentially want to go back to our first texture. So let's go back to our first texture and let's see how we look. Okay, so maybe we'll go back to this. That way it's not so bright. All right, so let's go back, and the last thing I want to do is I want to show you my setup here. And what I've done is I have this landscaped object. Now this landscaped object it's nothing. It's literally I hit landscape and I put it behind it. What I did though is I created a texture that just has a basic ramp piped into it, right? So which one's, yeah, I want this one. I just have a ramp that once again is default because I kind of want to max everything out so you can kind of get the idea. So that ramp is just being applied to this object. All right, now if we come in and we turn this on, you'll see that obviously it's behind it. But what's happening is this objects are picking up this world behind it. So let's just add a tag to this landscaped object, and let's just turn off its primary visibility and not have it cast shadows or anything. And what you see is that we get instantly kind of something that can be very difficult to achieve through a material. You get this look of just like colored glass that's just pretty awesome, in my opinion. And you know, I literally just have the default gradient on here, but even this looks kind of cool, I think, with the red. I mean, that's in a way kind of cool too. I think this is probably gonna be too bright, but you can do this with any object. I mean, I've never done it with whatever. Let's just put a platonic back here and let's see if it looks any different. I'm not sure if it will. And then we need to also put this on. So this, you have just a little bit more control of kind of where it is. But the point being is I can put any object in here. I could put another one that's like purple or something and put that over here, and you can really art direct where everything goes. So yeah, man, that is going to do it for this lesson. I hope that you were able to take away some nice fundamentals from this and really, you know, start to understand how to think about glass and just materials in general as you set them up. And I hope it was helpful, and I will see you on the next one.